So, I am almost done with the circuit board. Good heavens. I had to make a call with some of the features. There were too much to add, and I felt like the whole project was lagging and I needed to get something out the door. Plus, I could do another small run and then keep running those and add on to them. But I definitely wanted to add the, after I got the Pro Micro support added, I definitely wanted to be able to make it so that you could plug a cable into the Pro Micro and then wire that plug, that USB cable, into the board, so that you could either have an external plug, which is probably going to be on your choice of female connector on header pins, or or just wire another USB wire. Like you just took a micro USB wire, cut it in the middle, stripped it, brought the 4 wires, and then you plug one into the teensy, and then those 4 wires into the board, and then grab the other end of the cable and put those 4 wires into the board as well, and it'll just connect those 2 wires through the board. That way, if the cable gets yanked on, the cable might break, but you can resolder, you can reattach the cable, or you can put that external plug on that you can swap later. But you're not going to damage the teensy, or rather the Pro Micro. Pro Micro has a not great history with repeated USB connections. So if you have one right now, be coy with it. Just be gentle with it whenever you're connecting the plug in and the plug out. Because if that breaks, then it's very, very difficult to solder something else on there to salvage it. I do wish they had pins that you could connect to. I know that board's very dense, but it would be cool if they could put it right under the USB. The USB plug, the female connector. That way, if the female connector ever comes off, it exposes the headers for connecting an alternative USB device or USB connector. But that might be a little bit of self-deprecating design. This is probably gonna break, so after it breaks, here's what you do. Either way, I don't want people, I've had to desolder header pins off a teensy that was already in place. It's not fun, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. So that's a better way of doing it. That way you can just have those pins in. That's why, and I wondered about that for a long time. The ErgoDocs did that. The ErgoDocs had the teensy, the microcontroller came up, and then it went to a plug, and then the plug went wires straight into the board, and then the board came up with wires and then to a connector. I'm like, why are you doing that? Well, that's why. Because when you plug and unplug and are incautious, you can break the connection or break the connector. One of the cool things about the design, though, is if you choose to do the free mount, you should not get, that is to say, you put the Pro Micro or the teensy on and you just plug directly into that. So long as you plug straight in, you should not get sideways torque on it, which is really what's damaging to it. Because think about it, you're taking this little tiny connector that's very, very fine and very nice, and you connect this big long lever to it, and then that lever is just hanging out on the edge of your board, usually, where you can just bop it, or twist it, or pull it, or bop it, and you just pop that connector right off. It's no fun. But with my board design, since that microcontroller is right in the middle, the key switches are up above it. The key switches actually shroud and cover and protect that USB cable, the plug, so that it's really hard. I mean, you can't lever it. You can't reach down in there and, you know, I guess you could like grab it with tweezers or chopsticks and like wiggle it around, but you're not going to do it on accident. You're not going to be moving your mouse across or grabbing some wires and pulling it, and then it catches on it and it yanks it, and you pop the connector off. It's pretty safe. Further, as long as you run that wire up between the edges of the switches, which is I don't know where else you would run it, but if the wire gets pulled on, you're only providing outward force on the plug. So rather than the wire being pulled on and you pulling on it like this, when you pull on it, when you're running that cable, it'll always pull out. So as long as you don't like grab the cable and pull up, that'd be about the it's a cop giving someone a jump over here. When my brother comes up to Kentucky, he's always like, "Oh, I always know when I'm in Kentucky when I see a cop pulled over behind someone changing their tire." The other states, the cops want to shoot you. Here, they're like, "Hey, you need any help? I brought cookies." Oh, I love Kentucky. Where was I? So yeah. Yes, I did want to have those header pins to connect if you wanted to run a wired build where you could just solder the wires directly to the board, and there would just be kind of a little bit of a buffer there, so that you really wouldn't have to mess with the controller after you plugged in the first cable and just wired it. This brings up another interesting point, is if I have a connector, so if I have that header pin that's meant to run to a female connector, so that on the edge of the board is a separate connector just sitting there, and you have your cable and you plug it into that connector on the edge of the board. If I do run that, then the question becomes, where am I going to add the USB hub? So I already found a micro USB controller. No, that's not a small USB hub controller, and it's, I don't want to say it's kind of a breakout board, I guess, but it's designed so that it's a minimalist USB hub with header pins for a variety of connectors. So, you know, you can run a USB hub that does 2 connections or 4 connections or 8 connections, and it's just this little tiny board that just has header pins all over it. And then you would mount that to your board, you know, run your USB in to that, and then you would branch off one of those connections and run it to your Teensy or your Pro Micro, and then one extra for a USB Type A female on the corner or on the edge or something. That way you'd have a little extra USB hub there. So I can add that pretty easily as an option. They're the only source I have for them is kind of weird. It's in Britain, which means the shipping is not going to be fun. And I want to order a few, but I also want to make sure they're not garbage. Plus, if you get crazy and do like 4 of them, then or 8 of them, and this is going to be USB 2.0 because there's like no heat transfer for 3.0. You have like a little heat sink on there that gets broiling hot that you're going to be resting your arm on. Right, let's not do that. But I frequently find myself needing a USB hub and being annoyed by there not being one available, and that's when I run back to the Plico, which has one built in. So it can be an optional thing. It'll just have the mounts for it. Where are you going? So that'll be pretty cool. Looking forward to that. Definitely getting better with KiCad. Definitely figuring out more stuff. I remember now. Since there hasn't been much movement on the buckling spring 40 with an electrocapacitive design, I've been thinking about switching it back to that membrane PCB combo because it would use modern parts. And I think, no, I don't want to talk about ellipse, but if I could get Model F barrels from him, I will. Yeah. And we can do whatever flavor of firmware I want on that. I think the debounce worked the same. That was light testing too. Not really that. Oh, whatever. Yeah, I'm definitely good enough at PCB design and layout to really revisit that effectively. Oh my word. So that's pretty neat. Other than that, I've been Emaxing away. Emaxing, relaxing, all cool, shooting some b-ball outside of the pool. My mom got scared. How do you all put up with this? Let's see. Working very hard to Emax it up. I got an office, actually. That's new. It's very fancy. It has a door. 4 walls. Oh, ceiling. I had 4 walls before. Now I have a ceiling. It's pretty nice. It's just nice that it's not, 104 degrees and humid. All right, catch you later.